Hi friends, welcome back to my channel and welcome to the start of another reading vlog. So in today's video I'm going to be doing a cozy fantasy reading vlog because it's just that time of year again where I need coziness in my life, and I feel like one of the best ways to do that is reading cozy fantasy. And so in this video, it's just going to be all the cozy vibes. I have some books I'm planning to read, and I might also do some other cozy hobbies as well, such as baking and gaming and crafting. So let's talk about my TBR for this video. So I have 3 physical books here, and I just decided now that I'm adding a 4th one, but for that 4th one is going to be on my Kindle. So let me go over the physical books. So the first one I have is Watermoon by Samantha Soto Yambao. And this is one that I've been hearing so much about lately, and I've been seeing everyone read it, and they keep comparing it to like Studio Ghibli films. It just sounds like it's going to be really whimsical and cozy and exactly what I want at the moment. So I am really excited to finally read this. And then the second book on my list is the 3rd book in a series that I love, and is the Emily Wilde series. So it's the 3rd book, Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales. So this one came out recently as well, and I am so excited to get to this. I love the first 2 books. I love Emily and Wendell and all their adventures and their animal companions. And so I just can't wait to read this. I am a little sad that this is the last one in the series. And the 3rd physical book that I plan to read in this video is A Harvest of Hearts. And this one just came out recently this month. And I talked about this one in my March release video, and it just sounds so cozy and quirky at the same time, and just sounds like it's going to be so much fun. So I am really looking forward to reading this one as well. So those are the 3 physical books I plan to read in this video, but the 4th book that I just added on a whim, I'm going to read on my Kindle, and it's actually book 3 in a series, and it's the Demon World Boba Shop series. And so I read the 1st book and the 2nd book in this series last year. In the 1st book, I loved it so much. It's currently my favorite cozy fantasy book. The cozy and comforting vibes are just top notch in that book. Like, I read it back in July or August of last year when I was feeling burnt out and tired of summer. In that book, it just really felt like being wrapped up in a warm blanket. It was just so cozy and just made my heart feel so full. And if you want to know more about my thoughts on that one, I do have a reading vlog that I did last year, so I will link that down below. And I'm looking at the 3rd one right now on my phone, and the little description on the cover, it says, "Beyond Cozy into the Land of Fluff." And I just love that because that describes the series to a T. So yeah, those are all the books I'm planning to read in this video. Although I am leaving it open, so if I want to change my mind or add anything, I can. And I don't know how long this video is going to go. I guess it'll just go for as long as I want it to. I think I'm going to start with Watermoon because I've already peeked at the first couple of pages, and the writing has already pulled me in, and it just seems like it's exactly the type of book that I want to read right now. So I am going to start this, and then I will be back after I read some to talk some more about it and to give my first thoughts. Hi, so it's been a few days since I filmed the intro for this video, so it's now Monday, March 10th, and it's nighttime now. It's 6:52, almost 7 o'clock, and I'm finally going to start Watermoon tonight. And I'm super excited to finally start this, so let's get into it. Hi, so it's now Friday, March 14th, and I'm here for reading update on Water Moon. And so I am more than halfway through this book. I'm on page 237, chapter 39. And so far, I am really enjoying this. So let me tell you a little bit about what this is about, and then we'll talk about my thoughts so far. So Water Moon follows 21-year-old Hana Ishikawa, and her family owns a pawn shop, but it is not a normal pawn shop because it deals in regrets, and the only people that find the shop are those who are in need of it. And so the pawn shop is located in another world, and it is connected to a ramen door in our world. And so the people who need the pawn shop think they're going into the ramen shop, but they actually end up in the pawn shop. And so the pawn shop collects the regrets of the customers, and the regrets end up taking the shape of birds. And every new moon, the Shikuin come to the pawn shop and collect the regrets. And the Shikuin are like kind of the keepers of Hana's world. They make sure everything runs the way it's supposed to, and that everyone stays on track and follows their fates. And if you stick like even a toe out of line, they will come after you. So many people are afraid of the Shikuin, and just the way they are described, they kind of seem like monsters. And they're described as wearing layers of kimonos and white no masks. And they smell like rusting metal and decaying flesh, and they have patchwork skin. So they just sound really creepy. So at the start of the book, Hana has just inherited the pawn shop from her father, but on her first day of being the pawn shop owner, she wakes up and realizes that her father is missing, and also the shop is ransacked, so it seems like he might have been kidnapped. And when Hana is trying to figure out what happened to her father, the pawn shop gets a visitor. And this visitor is our second main character, Keishin, or K as he's known to his friends. So K is from our world, and he's a physicist. And he's apparently also a prodigy because it says that he went to college at age 15. And all his life, he's just been trying to find his place in the world. And he was born in Japan, but he left Japan when he was only a child with his father to go to America after their mom leaves them. So he grew up mostly in America, but now he's come back to Japan for a job opportunity. And so he had opened the door to the ramen shop expecting to go to the ramen shop, but instead he ends up in the pawn shop. And he sees that Hana is in trouble, and so he immediately offers her his help. And he says that he will help her find her father. And Hana tries to refuse his help at first, but he insists, and so then the two of them end up going on a whimsical, magical journey through Hana's world to try to find her father. So now for my thoughts. So far I am really enjoying this story. The story has really whimsical elements such as traveling through puddles and through music, museums with animated paper cranes, bottled time being sold at markets, and a tea shop that is only opened at midnight, and you can only get there in your dreams. And so I've loved all those little whimsical and cozy aspects of Hana's world. Also, other people who have read this book say that it has Studio Ghibli vibes, and again, 100% it definitely does have those vibes. And actually, Studio Ghibli is mentioned pretty early on in the book, and Kei is the one that mentions it, and he says how Totoro is his favorite Studio Ghibli film. And so that just felt really cozy, and it made me want to go watch Totoro. However, while the story is very whimsical, very cozy, it does have an underlying tone of melancholy and darkness, and that I wasn't really expecting, but that's not a bad thing. I think it definitely adds depth to the story. And I was reading this book at work one afternoon while I was on lunch break, and that day I was super stressed out, but as soon as I opened this book and I started to read it, it just calmed me right down. And that's exactly why I'm doing this vlog right now, is because I want to have those moments of coziness and peace in my everyday life that tends to be really hectic. And another part of the story that I have been enjoying is the setting. So the story does take place in the fall time, and there has been some fall vibes. So there's one point during the story where Kei is mentioning fall. He's talking about pumpkin spice cake. And that part of the story really transported me into fall, and it just felt so cozy, and I really appreciated it because fall is my favorite season, and I'm at the point in winter where I'm just tired of it and I'm ready for spring. And then one other thing I want to talk about is the romance between Hana and Kei. So I did see some people say that the romance is insta-love, and yes, I definitely say it does lean on the side of insta-love. But that being said, I don't mind insta-love when it's well done. I feel like this one has been doing it well. And overall, so far their romance just has like a very innocent and sweet feeling to it. And also, as the story unfolds, we also get angst and yearning in their relationship as well. And I feel like the two of them complement each other very well as characters because of the fact that they are from different worlds, and so they both have different perspectives about things. For example, Hana, she is from a world where your fate is pretty much set in stone when you are really young. And so she knows what her fate is, and because of this, she seems like more serious and less hopeful about things. Whereas Kay is from our world where anything can happen, like your fate isn't written in stone. And so his character is like more hopeful and cheerful and optimistic. And sometimes their different viewpoints clash, and that makes each of them re-examine and rethink things. I think that that makes a good opportunity for character growth. There are also some like really cute moments that come from Hana and Kay being from different worlds and experiencing different things in life. And one of my favorite moments so far in the book is when Kay has to explain to Hana what a date is because she doesn't know what a date is, because everyone in her world has a fated partner, and that's the person that you marry no matter what. So dating isn't a thing that happens in their world. And that part where he is trying to explain it to her is really funny, but also it becomes a really cute moment between the two of them as well. So those are all my thoughts for now on Watermoon. I'm excited to read more and just see where the story goes, and also to see like more whimsical parts of Hana's world. And so my next update will probably be when I finish this book. Hi, so I'm here with a reading update. It's now Tuesday, March 18th. And last Saturday I did finish Watermoon and I ended up loving this. I'm giving it 5 stars. I just thought overall this book was beautiful. The world, the writing, the romance, just like everything was beautiful. This is a standalone and I was really happy with how everything ended. And by far my favorite part of this book was just how whimsical it was. And just when I thought like it couldn't get any more whimsical, it would somehow surprise me and do so. For example, there is a part in this book where Hana and Kay are running from the Shikuin, and they're going to this market, and it's a big market, and Kay is like, oh, so there'll be plenty of places for us to hide from them. Hana looks at him and is just like, we might fall through the clouds. And I was just like, what? So this night market is in the clouds, and that's just so whimsical. And overall, like, the world of this book just reminded me so much of a Studio Ghibli film, and I just loved it so much. I will say, though, that the romance will not be for everyone in here because it is insta-love, And it does use the soulmates trope, so it definitely won't be everyone's cup of tea, but for me, I really enjoyed the romance. I just thought it was very beautiful and that it fit like the tone of the book really well. So overall, like I said, I love this. I definitely recommend this if you are a fan of Studio Ghibli. It's if you like books that are very whimsical and feel like a dream. So next, I think I am going to hop into Emily Wilde, because I am really excited to read this and just to go back to their world and get reunited with Emily and Wendell and their pets. I'm just really excited. So I'm going to start this, and after I read some, I will come give some thoughts. Oh my gosh, once again, the very beginning lines of this book are just so good. Just like the second one. The first line says, "If there is one subject upon which Wendell and I will never agree, it is the wisdom of attempting to drag a cat into fairy. Even if said animal is a fairy cat, even if we are merely returning her to the world whence she came, still is the most frustrating process." Oh, poor Shadow. He just wants to be friends with Olga, but she wants nothing to do with him. Wendell and Emily are holding hands. They're so precious. Snowbell's back. They're snails and fairy, but they're very vengeful. It says, while their vengeance may be slow in coming, they always have it in the end. That's like so silly and ominous at the same time. Hi, so it is many hours later. It is now 7:45 p.m., so it's nighttime. But I do have a reading update, and I have made it to page 104 in this. And I am already loving this so much. So this book picks off right where book 2 left off, with Emily and Wendell heading to Fairy to reclaim Wendell's throne. And right from the very first page, this just made me smile and laugh, and I really felt like I was just like coming home and reuniting with old friends. And I just love Emily and Wendell so much, and there's already been some super cute and sweet moments between them just in like the first 100 pages of this book, and they just make my heart so happy. And I also love their animal companions, Shadow and Olga. There's already been some like really cute moments with them. Some were a little bittersweet with Shadow, but I just love the two of them so much too. And we already got to see some other familiar characters and also some new characters as well. But just like overall reading this book is like very much like a comfort read to me, and to me it just is like feels so cozy. Hi, editing Ashley popping in here because right after those thoughts my microphone just decided it was going to stop working again. So I'm just gonna do a voiceover for the rest of my thoughts for this clip. So I was saying that Emily Wilde, like, really to me feels just like really cozy, even though like not every single element in here is cozy, because some of the fairies in here are really scary and off-putting. But overall, personally, it just really gives me cozy vibes and makes me happy. And then another part of this book I really enjoyed was we got to see Wendell use more of his sewing skills and just being a master of sewing and being really awesome with them. And that's really fun because the best weapon that he has in his arsenal is his sewing skills. And he's really good at sword fighting too, but his sewing skills are just really on a whole other level compared to anyone else, so no one can really compete with him. And just like seeing him be really awesome with them in this book was just such a joy to read. And yeah, so those were really all my thoughts in this clip. I couldn't really say too much because this is the third book in the series, so I didn't want to spoil anything, but just know, like, at this moment, I was really loving the book so far. Hi, so it's now Saturday, March 22nd, and it's nighttime, which is why the lighting isn't very good in here right now. Anyways, I finished reading Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales last night after work, and I loved this book so much. So before starting this reading vlog, I felt like I was in a little bit of a slump ever since reading Onyx Storm. And I've still been reading things since then, but nothing has like hit as hard, and I've been getting a little disappointed that some books that I thought would be like 5 stars and that I would love, I hadn't been loving. Like, they come close, but not quite close enough. And so I am so happy that I love this. I feel like this book pulled me out of my slump. Hopefully I don't go back into a slump because this one was so amazing. And I loved Watermoon, but I love this one even more. So I gave Watermoon 5 stars. This was like a 6-star read for me. I also think that this third one was my favorite one in the series. And one of the reasons for this one being my favorite is Emily and Wendell's relationship in this one. So I just loved how established their relationship is in this one. I just loved Emily and Wendell's relationship and how you can see like they are feeling mostly confident in the relationship with each other, and they just have so many cute moments. And I love how many of their actions in this one just revolve around the other's safety and happiness. And also the Shadow and the Orga scenes in this book were amazing. They were heartwarming. There were some bittersweet moments, but I loved how many Shadow and Orga moments that we got in this book. So this was the third and final book in the series, which made me a little sad, but I did like how it ended. I feel like the ending brought the story full circle. So yeah, those are all my thoughts on Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales. I loved it. It was everything that I wanted it to be. It was a 6-star read. So next, I am going to pick up A Harvest of Hearts, and this one sounds like it should be just as whimsical and cozy as Emily Wilde. And this one also has a cat, but it has a talking cat. There are people who use magic in this book, but in order to do spells, they have to use pieces of people's hearts. And so that just sounds very interesting to me. It seems like this has the potential to have like the same whimsical but also kind of dark tone as Emily Wilde does. So I am really excited to pick this up, and hopefully it lives up to my expectations. So I'm gonna go start this, and I'll be back later with my first thoughts. Hi, so it's now Monday, March 24th, and I am here with a reading update. So I have made it to page 216, chapter 15 in A Harvest of Hearts, and I am really enjoying this so far. But first, let me tell you a little bit about what this book is about, and then I'll talk more about my thoughts. So this book follows 20-year-old Foss, who lives in a small village that's on the outskirts of their kingdom, and she is the daughter of the butcher of their village. And she has kind of resigned herself to just spending the rest of her life working in her father's butcher shop because she sees herself as plain and ugly, so she thinks that no one will ever fall in love with her and want to marry her. Also, it doesn't help that a village boy that she had a crush on toyed with her feelings. And also add to that some people believe she is cursed because her mother died during childbirth. And in this world, that is very rare because of the magic workers. In addition, ever since these magic workers came to be, there has also been no war in Foss's kingdom. And these magic workers are all pretty women who, in order to perform spells, have to use pieces of people's hearts. And up to this point, there has been no sightings of any male sorcerers, so people believe that they don't exist. However, one day, a male sorcerer ends up visiting Foss's village. Everyone in the village, Foss included, is mesmerized by him. Foss ends up locking eyes with him, and it's intense. And he ends up looking at Foss in a way that no one else ever has before. When he ends up leaving the village, Foss ends up falling sick, both mentally and physically. And she is convinced that he took a piece of her heart, and she is furious. So she heads off to the city to find him and demand that he give her heart back to her. So now for my thoughts. So like I said, I am really enjoying this so far. It is very whimsical and cozy, but it also has dark undertones similar to Emily Wilde. And also the back of this book compares this book to Howl's Moving Castle, and it 100% has Howl's Moving Castle vibes. Just the talk about the magic workers and how they have to use people's hearts in order to perform their spells reminded me of Howl's Moving Castle, because at the beginning of that movie you have to talk about how Howl consumes the hearts of beautiful girls. And also Foss herself reminds me of Sophie because of just the way that she thinks of herself as plain and not beautiful. However, I will say that Foss is not as shy as Sophie. She's more of a go-getter and not really afraid to speak her mind. And her personality actually reminds me a lot of Sophie after she's had the curse put onto her. And in addition, when Foss finally gets to the sorcerer's house, he asks her why she is there, and she says that she is there to be his housekeeper. And so that, again, just reminded me of Howl's Moving Castle. And then in addition to this book giving me Howl's Moving Castle vibes, it has also been giving me Where the Dark Stands Still vibes. So in this one, our main character goes to live in the house of the Demon of the Woods, and his house is kind of alive. And similarly in this one, the house is alive. So the house was like originally a part of the sorcerer's magic, but then it kind of takes on a life of its own. So the house in this book is very much a character of its own. It's also very whimsical as well because it will provide anything that you need. And for example, when Foss first gets to the house, there is a black cat, and she looks at the black cat and she's like, "Oh, I wish you could speak." And then suddenly the cat starts speaking. And she's kind of shocked for a moment, and then she just looks at the cat and is like, "Oh, you can talk after all?" And he's just like, "Not usually, but you wished it." And so he can talk because of the house's magic, and the house decided that Foss needed the cat to talk, and so now the cat talks. And the cat's name is Cornelius, and I really like him as a character. And then also, this is another way that this book is similar to Where the Dark Stands Still, because in here, Liska befriends a ghost cat, and that ghost cat is her companion for most of the beginning of the book, because our Demon of the Woods doesn't interact with her very much at the beginning. And similarly in this one, our sorcerer, whose name is Sylvester, also doesn't really interact with Foss very much in the beginning. And I would say that his character reminds me more of the Demon of the Woods in this one than of Howl from Howl's Moving Castle, because he doesn't really have the charisma that Howl has. And I also feel like his personality in general is just more like the Demon of the Woods in here, because he's like very closed off in the beginning and doesn't talk very much to Foss. But as the story unfolds, he does start to open up to her. And then we learned some things about the sorcerers and the magic workers in that world and how they came to be, and it was very intriguing. And that is another thing that I've been really enjoying in this book is the world building. So throughout this book, you're starting to learn more about the truth of their magic through Foss and Sylvester's interactions. And there's also been another mystery going on in this book as well with this mysterious illness, and apparently the king has ordered all the magic workers to try to find a cure to it. So we've slowly been learning more about that in the book. And of course, I've been enjoying seeing Foss and Sylvester get to know each other. Is very much a very slow burn relationship, but so far it has been very endearing to read about. Yeah, those are all my thoughts so far on Harvest of Hearts. I am really enjoying it, and I feel like I've been like just flying through the pages. It's very much giving me all like the cozy vibes that I hope it would, and hopefully it will continue to do so. But in addition to reading this, I have also started this diamond painting bookmark, and I'm not very far yet, but I started this yesterday before work. I thought these would be cute to do in this vlog because it's a cat bookmark, and there is a cat in here, and there was also a cat in Emily Wilde, so I thought it fit the theme well. So I want to continue more of this, and I did download the audiobook for this, so I'm probably going to listen to that while I work on this. And I also still want to do some baking, which I was going to do today because I was originally off from work today, but then last minute schedule changed, so now I'm working this afternoon tonight and I'm off tomorrow instead, so I'll probably end up doing my baking tomorrow. So that's all from me for now. I will be back when I've finished this with my final thoughts. Hi, so I'm back with a reading update, which is I finished A Harvest of Hearts. I just finished this like 10 minutes ago. I'm either giving this a 4.5 or a 5. I'm leaning towards a 5-star though because I really loved the ending of this. I thought the ending was beautiful. And I don't remember if I mentioned this earlier, but this is a standalone, so everything does wrap up really nicely in the end. I just love the cozy and whimsical vibes of this. That being said though, this book isn't completely cozy. There are some pretty high stakes, and especially like the last 100 pages of this book are really intense and action-packed, and I was like on the edge of my seat for the last 100 pages of this. And another one of my favorite parts of this book was the characters. I loved our main character, Foss. She was strong, she was a go-getter, but she also had a heart of gold, and she always tried to do the right thing, and she always protected the innocent. I also really liked her close relationship with her father and just how that was depicted. It was just so heartwarming to read about. And then I also really liked our love interest, Sylvester. For whatever reason, when I went into this, I was expecting him to be like the grumpy trope, but he really wasn't. He was more aloof in the beginning than grumpy, and I just think like he just had a hard time expressing his feelings in the beginning, and as you start to come to know him, you just see that he's really just a cinnamon roll character at heart. And him and Foss's relationship, it's very much a slow burn, especially the romance part. Romance doesn't really start rolling until the last 100 pages of this book, and that's because of like the situation that Foss is in. So her heart has been snagged by Sylvester. And as such, she feels this like unnatural pull and attraction towards him. And so because of the spell that she's under, she loves him, but she knows those feelings are fake and are only there because of the spell. It's kind of hard for her to tell where those manufactured feelings end and where her real feelings begin. And also, Sylvester himself, like has no experience in romance or love, so it's also a new thing for him as well. But they had some really cute moments towards the end that made me smile and feel giddy. However, I think my favorite character in this entire book was Cornelius, the talking black cat. I loved him so much, and he reminded me a little bit of Gigi from Kiki's Delivery Service. And I think Sarah Beth Durst on the front of the book, she has a little blurb that I think best describes how I felt about this book overall. And she says that it's a rich story that feels both classic and unique at the same time. And that's 100% how I felt about this. Like, it feels like a classic tale. It feels almost like a Grimm brother fairy tale. Like, it's whimsical yet has some dark undertones. I feel like it really reminded me of Diana Wynne Jones's novel Howl's Moving Castle. But I still say that it also reminded me a little bit of Where the Dark Stands Still as well. And so I feel like if you enjoyed either of those books, Howl's Moving Castle, the book or the movie, or if you enjoyed Where the Dark Stands Still, that you should definitely give this a shot. So next, I am going to hop into Demon World Boba Shop Volume 3, which I am going to read on my Kindle. Hi, so it's now Monday, April 7th, and I just finished Volume 3 of Demon World Boba Shop this morning, so I'm here to give my thoughts on that and wrap up this vlog. So since this is the third book in a series, I can't say too much without giving anything away, but I'll just give a brief overview of the series in case you're not familiar with it. So our main character in this one is Arthur, and he ends up dying in our world from overwork, and so then he is reincarnated into a new world. And his main wish is just to be reborn in a world where everyone is nice and everything is just nice because he didn't have a very happy life on Earth. So he's reborn into the demon world. And even though it's a demon world, everyone there is really nice, and life is pretty laid back and just nice. And so the people of this world, they very much remind me of Animal Crossing villagers because they are like human-like animals. And so in this new world, Arthur ends up opening a bubble tea shop. And so the series just follows like his life and him getting used to the world and just pretty much his everyday life. in the demon world. So this series on a whole, I just love it so much. It is very much like a warm hug in book form. It's a series that I read when I am feeling down and I just need something comforting and something that will make me smile. And so the first book, I loved it. The second book, I really enjoyed it, though not quite as much as the first book. And then this third one, I absolutely loved. I think so far this is my favorite one in the series. Feeling a found family in this book was really strong, and I loved that. And this book just has so many endearing characters. Like, you have our main character Arthur, but you also have a bunch of side characters as well, and I feel like at this point in the story, all of them have been really well developed. And I will have to say my probably favorite side character is Lily, and she is an owl girl, and in book 1, she is an orphan and having like a really hard time. And Arthur ends up befriending her and takes her under his wing. She's very headstrong and stubborn, but she is super precious. And also in this book, there is a really cute scene with a baby bear-like creature as well. And I just love cute animal scenes. They always like warm my heart. Even though this series is mostly cozy and low stakes, there are some exciting moments in here where some slightly alarming things do happen. Where in this one there is a monster attack at one point that was a little scary. But this is a type of series where like even if something bad happens, you know that in the end everything is going to be okay, because that's just the type of series that this is. It's just a cozy, warm-hearted series that is very comforting. And so far this series has 5 volumes out. Arthur has said that as long as people want to read this series, he'll just keep continuing writing the series. And this is a series that I just plan to slowly read over time, because I'll read the books when I feel that I need comfort in a warm hug in book form. And so I just want to end off my thoughts on this book by sharing 2 quotes from the book that really resonated with me. So the first one reads, "People needed tea, magical or not. They needed the things that made life possible to live, but they also needed things that made life worth living, and it was his job to deliver the latter to them." And then the other quote is, "Somehow, deep down, he really believed he could fix just about any problem with tea." So to wrap up this video, I'm just going to quickly go over the other books that I read besides Demon World Boba Shop. So they were Watermoon, Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales, and A Harvest of Hearts. And so Demon World, Boba Shop, and all 3 of these were all 5 stars for me, so I recommend all of them. Let me know down below if you have read any of these, what you thought of them. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye!